5 things I didn't know about American Halloween. My friends, I'm super excited for this one and happy Halloween because I know a lot of my viewers celebrate this date. Not something I grew up with, to be honest, but I hope you have a tremendous day. Before I go into that, let me ask you for one thing. If you can leave a like, thank you so much. Is the best way to show support. Now, if you can subscribe, well, in that case, forget about it. You make my day. Have that in consideration. Link for the original video in my description and... oh boy. Special edition.
Hello and happy Halloween. I'm going to stop with this voice now. Happy Halloween. Welcome
Thank you.
to Lost in the Pond. This is a very special Halloween edition of Lost in the Pond, in which I look back at a lot of the things I didn't know about American Halloween
Like what?
until I moved here. 5 things specifically, because I think 5 is a nice round number. Yes, I could have done 7, like in the film 7. I could have done 13 because of Friday the 13th.
Or
but it's
100.
not Friday the 13th, so that wouldn't have made any sense. And that feels inappropriate. Don't do that on camera ever again, Lawrence. And let's start with our first entry, coming in at number 1 or 5, probably 5.
Okay, let's see it. Pumpkins. What?
That's right, there are way more of these at Halloween in America, and that's because...
My friends, I have to pause it here because, of course, like I said at the beginning of the video, I did not grow up with Halloween, but I remember seeing Halloween in cartoons, TV shows, etc. And I always thought was something amazing that Americans end up celebrating. Specific if you are a kid, this sounds so much fun. I believe in America they say trick or treat. Well, I'm not sure. Trick for a treat, something like that, right? But it's so fascinating. And I wonder if Halloween is still as popular nowadays as it was back in the day. I suspect so, but yeah. Leave me a like if you actually enjoy Halloween, because I find it really cool.
There are more produced here by a long way. This is really heavy. How have you got the heaviest pumpkin in the world? So you get a lot of those in America, heavy ones and light ones, you know, but Illinois, the state of Illinois, where I live, technically, although...
Sorry, something crazy about those pumpkins is they are really orange. We have pumpkins here. Actually, for example, I have family that plants those, and they tend to not be that orange. It's actually kind of crazy.
So Chicago feels like an entire state all to itself at times. I'm getting off track. Produces the most pumpkins in the entire land, and you see them everywhere. So there are actual pumpkins everywhere, but then there's pumpkin-themed things everywhere. So the little buckets that you put sweets in, they're always pumpkins, and there's pumpkin spiced lattes.
You put sweet inside of the pumpkin. Well, friends, is this common? Please tell me in the comments also. That's so crazy. But you have to do a lot of work to take out the pumpkin, right?
Pumpkin pie, even vanilla pumpkin scented candles, right? It's a lot of pumpkin. It's too much pumpkin at times. Yeah. And you'll be walking down the street and you'll see plenty of these guys hanging about in what we're about to look at in number 2, 4.
Okay. Decorations. Oh boy.
That's right. Just as it does at Christmas, America really likes to paint the town red, or in this case, orange, or, Halloween colours, green, I suppose. Because you'll be walking down the street and virtually every other house seemingly has some kind of decoration, and usually they go all out with the lights and all of that. And as I said, pumpkins, fake witches in the garden. Speaking of which, I've got my broom. I was going to dress for this video like Hermione Granger from Harry Potter, but then I realised I didn't have the hair. So I came dressed as her uncle, I think. I've made up an uncle for Hermione. Okay. And it's a cross between her uncle and John Travolta in Saturday Night Fever, I think. And that's what I'm going as. And there'll be all kinds of sort of lights and light shows and monsters and all that. And again, I'm not saying this kind of thing doesn't happen in England. It does, I've heard, although I don't remember it happening much when I lived there. But I think the prevalence of it maybe took over a little bit in England after I left. Coincidence? Probably.
So, my friends, here I think it's important to share my perspective with you. Nowadays, Halloween is quite more popular in Portugal, but it's for adults, not for kids. And comparing with America is still nothing. On November 1st, kids actually tend to go out and ask for some type of treat, like they do in America. But the reason is quite different, and there is actually some debate why that happens, but it's basically a tradition. I did that when I was a kid. But I remember people telling me the story that there was a big earthquake in Lisbon back in the day, in November 1st. Actually, November 1st is also a religious day here. So yeah, it's actually quite complex. But there was a big earthquake in Lisbon, and a lot of people on November 1st end up losing everything and asking for food on the streets and stuff like that. It's actually a bit sad, but because of that, at least some people believe because of that, a lot of kids still do this in November 1st. So if you ever come to Portugal on November 1st, in the morning, you will see basically what you guys do in America in Halloween, but no one goes. There is no customs, you know. That's kind of the difference.
Probably entirely coincidental. But in America, they go, it's on another level. Over America, you can practically see Halloween from space. You know, that's true. I read that on Wikipedia.
What?
Has it? Okay, I'm being told my graffiti on Wikipedia has been removed. But, you know, you could read it on Wikipedia back in the day. And it's a good thing too. And I suppose in many ways it makes it very inviting for trick-or-treaters, which brings me on to point number 3. And it really is 3, whichever direction you go.
No money. Actually, this is interesting because I'm gonna assume he's about to say that you cannot give money to kids when they go to knock in your door. But here, in the 1st of November, you actually, if you don't have anything to give, and some people sometimes don't have, and if you feel comfortable giving money, some people do it. Of course, we are talking about €1, let's say $1 or something, or even less, you know.
I'm told that in America, when you go door to door trick or treating, the best you're going to get handed is sweets, right? And sweets are good, you know, not as good as money, because in England, that's what you come to expect. When I was a kid, nothing short of 50p per person would satisfy me. So I made sure I dressed up the best I possibly could. And by the way, when I was a kid, I didn't dress up as John Travolta in Saturday Night Fever. I dressed up as Kevin Costner in Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves. And I expected, you know, a wealth of money, as you should if you're Robin Hood. You know, I was trying to steal from the rich and then give to myself, frankly, and it worked. Is it true that Americans just don't give out money? I can't. My life is ruined. I'll never go trick-or-treating again. I'm lying. I'm going to go trick-or-treating.
Is this true, my friends? Honestly, kind of makes sense because a kid probably does not care about money and prefer sweet things, right? But surprises me. Actually, surprises me a bit. This is true because probably that there will happen some people knocking the door and having nothing to give. You know what I mean? So kind of makes sense that could be an alternative, but okay.
On Halloween, probably dressed like this because you can, due to our next entry.
Not just monsters? What?
So when I was growing up in England, almost to a man or woman, not going to get sexist about this, although we are in fact talking about children, so it's boy and girl, we would dress up very specifically as monsters. You know, as witches or vampires or Frankenstein's monster or whatever it might be. You had to be a monster. That was part of the shtick, I thought, of Halloween. But here it's perfectly acceptable for me to go out dressed as Nicolas Cage from Face Off, right? You could even dress up as a Rubik's Cube if you wanted to. I don't know why you would. It'd be bloody hard to get on the train without people touching you. And then you've got court cases on your hands, so you don't want that. What I'm saying is you can dress as anything practically here, and that's acceptable. You know, I'm not saying people don't dress as monsters here, they do. I'm also not saying that people don't dress as non-monster things in the UK, but for sure the focus in Britain.
My friends, when I was, so I will run it back, don't worry. When I was a kid, and I know I have a lot of people older than me watching, so you guys may not be aware of what I'm going to share with you, but I believe that was popular in America. Goosebumps basically was kind of a, let's say, TV series for kids that was all about horror stories. And apart from that TV series, I also end up reading the books. Give me a second. I have a couple with me, I believe. My friends, you know what's crazy? I actually have one about Halloween. And I also saw this on TV. This is, you know, very used, very old. I used to read a lot of those when I was a kid. I have a bunch of them right there. Do you guys recognize this? In Portuguese, the word is arrepios. but in English is Goosebumps. Actually, you can even see the. But yeah, anyone knows this? Maybe. But basically, of course, when it comes to horror stories, stuff like that, Halloween is very prone to have those type of stories, and in cartoons, in books, this was very common here.
Also, not saying that people don't dress as non-monster things in the UK, but for sure the focus in Britain is dressing up as something monstrous, which is why I once went as myself. And speaking of British immigrants, that brings us on to our final point.
Scottish and Irish immigrants. What the hell this? What is the connection here? Actually, I have no idea.
And so, in some form or fashion, Halloween did make its way over to America via the British that came over here. So it had some early prevalence in the United States, in the South, apparently, but the Puritans didn't like it, right? So it kind of went away for a bit. But then, what happened? A bunch of Scottish people and Irish people turned up and said, let's have a party. And they did. And Halloween took off from there. What I'm saying is, it was Scottish and Irish immigrants that sort of brought it here, I think in the sort of 19th century. And then in the latter half of the 19th century, it started to grow around America to where now...
Oh, that's crazy. And that's something really interesting to know.
Most peoples in the land celebrate it. And it's fascinating to think that this holiday was brought from that small island. Imagine what I could have brought with me. I could have brought with me Britpop music and turned that into a movement all over again in America
soccer.
For the first time ever. I could have done anything, and I didn't. I'm letting myself down. My Scottish and Irish brethren from the past have really outdone me on this one, but I will beat you. We've got 10,000 subscribers now. We're an army. I suppose given
10,000. Well, friends, this video is 6 years old. 10,000 is close to 1 million right now. It's crazy.
That Scottish and Irish
well deserved.
It's actually no surprise that orange is so closely linked with Halloween because of all the gingers. So I like ginger. I've got ginger friends, so I'm allowed to say that. And that's not a slight against gingers. I like gingers. I married a ginger, so I'm not going to show her this video. So nobody else share this video with my wife, or I'm dead. Happy Halloween, everybody! Thank you for joining me in Go Trick or Treating, and demand money if you're in America. Don't demand money. That could seem like an armed robbery.
That could be
Until
rude, yeah.
next time.
Oh, it's ending.
Goodbye.
Okay.
I'm very, very sorry about that.
Yeah. Thank you, my friend. Oh, but yeah, my friends, this was amazing. And like I will end the same way I started. Happy Halloween. Have a tremendous day. Really means a lot, watching until the end. See you guys in the next one. Bye, my friends.